You are listening to the CAD podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The CAD podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CAD podcast with Jim and Rocco, the owners, founders, and general knuckleheads who are in charge of Zentech Consultants. I am Jim Coppinger. I am the really handsome one, and with me today is my partner.
Who do I want to be today, Jim?
I don't know. Who do you want to be? I think you should try and be me. I like being me. Me is pretty awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nah. I'll stick with myself. I'll be Rocco.
You gonna be Rocco? Okay. So you be Rocco today. And I'll stick with being me because being me is awesome. So, all right. So today our topic is AutoCAD. It's not your only 2D option. All right. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. Unlike in previous podcasts, as has been pointed out to me by my wife, I tend to jump in and talk for an hour first before I even get Rocco involved. So I'm going to switch it up today. I'm going to start by asking Rocco a question. All right, so we're going to start talking about AutoCAD, right? And the fact that AutoCAD has been around for decades. It was the first successful mass market CAD system, and for many years it's been the industry standard. Okay, so. Despite the fact, and we've talked about this before, rumor that 2D drafting is dying out, it's on the fade. When you're out and you're talking with clients, you're on the phone with all of the clients here at Zentech, how many folks do you find are still actively using AutoCAD at some level?
The fun part is that we really do get to talk to people who are involved at all different levels within organizations. And a lot of large to down to very small firms. And I find that the vast majority are still using 2D AutoCAD. There's certainly, particularly the larger firms within architecture, engineering, construction, are definitely using products like Revit. And in manufacturing, I think more folks are using 3D products like Inventor, SolidWorks, BricsCAD, but still AutoCAD is definitely still heavily used. Okay. And I don't see it going away.
Yeah, neither do I. We like I said, we've talked about this in previous podcasts where we did discussions about 2D versus 3D, CAD and design, and is it is everybody going to 3D? What we found there is, like I said in the previous session, right, that less than 25% of design firms, right, the architects, engineers, are actively using 3D on a regular basis. They're still doing the bulk of their work in the 2D environment, which in a lot of cases means AutoCAD. Now, and again, like you said, it's a little bit different in the manufacturing space, right, where we're, a lot of people, are dependent on, SolidWorks and Rhino and Inventor and Fusion 360 and the BricsCAD mechanical stuff. They do a lot of work in the 3D environment on all their new products. But the truth is that they still do a lot of work in that 2D environment using products like AutoCAD, just because they have so much of their backlog, right? Their older products, which were designed in those 2D drawing files, and there's no real reason for them to go back and redo all of that work that they had done in 2D, 15 years ago. And let's just, because Autodesk put out this cool 3D modeling package, let's go ahead and redesign everything we spent years putting together in 3D. I think as they do new products and they do major updates to their products, they're doing that. But I think a lot of them still, even in the manufacturing space, are still using the AutoCAD's 2D systems. So when it comes to AutoCAD, like I said, it really is the premier system out there. And I'm not bashing AutoCAD today in any way. I love AutoCAD. I've worked on it most of my career. But there are still a lot of verticals, add-ons for AutoCAD that people are still using on a daily basis, right? They're not all making that move to the full 3D modeling systems like Revit and so on. there's still a lot of use of, the AutoCAD mechanical system and the AutoCAD architectural system, right, that plug on top of that Autodesk or AutoCAD. And I'll apologize. I'm going to do that throughout the whole thing, Rocco. You know me. I always mix and match AutoCAD and Autodesk. They need different names as I'm talking. So hope you guys understand. I'm talking about AutoCAD. So, the thing with AutoCAD is how much update it's gotten. All right. So here's the thing. All right. Autodesk is really focused on pushing users into that 3D environment, right? Mainly because it improves Autodesk's, bottom line, right? Those 3D packages, like Revit and so on, they cost a lot more money than, base 2D AutoCAD. And I think with that in mind, one of the issues that I do have with AutoCAD is they haven't really done a serious upgrade to the base AutoCAD system in many years now. They do compatibility updates, they throw in maybe one minor tool, they give you dark modes and things like that. It's not a huge change, right? And a lot of AutoCAD users that we talk to have noticed the same. They're a little frustrated that they're paying these year-over-year costs and not really getting an upgrade to AutoCAD, where all of the development time from Autodesk is going into those 3D packages, right? But despite that, AutoCAD still holds the lion's share of the 2D drafting market, right? And people don't want to make that change. And I think the big thing is people are afraid of the learning curve that would come from a new system and the potential loss of revenue and downtime, right? They spent 15, 20 years working in AutoCAD, developing standards, developing systems and processes, and training their people. And the idea that, hey, we're going to have to just abandon AutoCAD and start all that again, they're just not convinced that that's an intelligent way to go. They don't want to get into that. And I also think that there's a little bit of issue with the name recognition. I mean, everybody knows Autodesk. Autodesk is a massive international level company. They're one of the top picks right now on the New York Stock Exchange, right? Their stock shares are going through the roof. So people are comfortable that Autodesk is going to be there next year or in 10 years. Whereas a lot of these smaller companies whose names they don't recognize, it's Joe's CAD shop comes out with Joe's CAD. They're not going to make that change. They're not going to jump over to an unknown quantity like that, when the potential for that company to just disappear in a few years is there, and that's a big concern for them, I think. So, talking about name recognition, okay, that kind of brings up. So I'm going to throw a question to you here, Rocco. So, we're BricsCAD partners, and BricsCAD is the primary sponsor for this podcast. So just people know, above boards. I'm not trying to sell anything here. I just want you to be honest about what we're talking. But BricsCAD is a really fast-growing and widely recognized CAD system. But when you call clients who are already using AutoCAD, right, or any of those verticals, how many of those people are even familiar with BricsCAD, or even have really considered any other CAD system?
Not enough are familiar with BricsCAD for sure, but I tell you, a lot of customers, a lot of prospects are open to hearing about alternate options. They're definitely looking for, particularly the smaller architectural firms are looking for alternate options that are going to be more affordable. But outside of, and when I'm speaking generally for the U.S. I mean, I think a product like BricsCAD is much well known, much better well known within Europe and outside the U.S.
Yeah, and that's absolutely the case, and that kind of feeds into what I have here to talk about next, which is, again, we're going to math time. For each podcast, I love to get out and I love to do a little research and get the numbers, right? For the topic we're talking here. So we're getting to the maths here a little bit. And the fact that, like you said, there's a much greater recognition of these alternative packages like BricsCAD outside the U.S. really ties into the numbers. Right, so going and doing some research, right? So according to the John Petty Research, JPR, there are 9.3 million daily CAD users worldwide. Those are people who are actively using CAD on a regular basis, right? There's a lot more who are kind of intermittent users, but that's the key demographic, Right? And the number that really caught my eye here is that 2/3 of those 9.3 million people, 2/3 of them actually work outside the United States. Right? We're counting for less than 1/3 of the CAD users across the world. Okay, which is a really interesting setup. So, like I said, looking from Quora, all right, Quora says that only 8% of CAD users work in AutoCAD exclusively, right? But that over 50% of them use it pretty regularly, right? So, like I said, 8% use nothing but AutoCAD, but better than half of those 9 million users are actually, using it fairly frequently. All right, so if you go and you start doing the math and taking out the 2/3, et cetera, it means we're talking about 3.2 million AutoCAD users here in the U.S. Okay, that's a lot, right? And that means that they're all paying the AutoCAD annual subscription fee. All right, and if you do the math there, 3.2 million at the $1,610 annual fee for a single seat of AutoCAD, that's a 5.15 billion with a B annual revenue income for Autodesk. Right? And you wonder why their stock is through the roof. This is AutoCAD. They're pulling over $5 billion a year in revenue from AutoCAD, and it's their throwaway package. It's the package they're not developing and supporting because their other systems make them so much more money. That's crazy. I can't even imagine how much money they're bringing in on the Revit and the Civil 3D and the Navisworks, those high-end 3D systems that people are buying. Right? That's why they're pushing all their revenue that way. And I tell you, Rock, I'm a little disappointed that they're bringing in a good bit more money than we are. I think you're sleeping on the job, dude. You need to step up your game.
That is quite a big chunk.
Because I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you, maybe it's a good thing. Because if I'm making $5 billion a year, I don't know that I'm sitting here doing a podcast. I'm thinking I might be somewhere in the Bahamas with little drinks and umbrellas in them, all day,
little drinks. You can afford big drinks.
I can get big drinks, and I'm a big guy, so I like the big drinks. That works. So, but the funny thing about that, right? My last point here before we break for a word from our sponsors, despite the fact that 2/3 of the folks are outside the U.S. here, AutoCAD is still the leading CAD system outside of the U.S., right? AutoCAD, even outside of the U.S., is still the premier CAD system. But here's the thing, right? BricsCAD is actually a very close number 2, right? They have actually grown themselves to the point where they're a direct head-to-head competitor with AutoCAD, right? Particularly in Europe, where they're actually rapidly closing that gap, and they're making that jump over here, right, into the U.S. And I'm going to actually break for a word from BricsCAD, who is our sponsor for this podcast, all right, and we're going to talk about them. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about what other CAD packages are available out there for you guys to work with other than AutoCAD. We'll be back in just a second. All right, today's CAD call is brought to you courtesy of BricsCAD. BricsCAD, the new up-and-coming industry leader in both the 2D, 3D, and BIM implementation world. One of the things that I really love, Rocco, about working with BricsCAD is that it is one single software system that lets our users do 2D drafting, 3D modeling, BIM modeling, and even mechanical and sheet metal design, all in a standard native DWG drawing format that's fully compatible with AutoCAD, but it's one system, one file. You can do the work of 4 or 5 different software packages in one single system with BricsCAD. All right, so Rocco, why don't you tell folks how to reach out to us to learn about BricsCAD?
Well, you got a couple options. You got our website, zentechconsultants.net. That's ZENTEK consultants.net. You can reach out to us by phone, 866-824-4459, or you can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net.
Perfect. Sounds good. All right, let's get back to the CAD call. All right, everybody, welcome back to the CAD call podcast with Jim and Rocco. So before the break, Rocco, we were talking about the different 2D CAD packages, right? Your alternatives to the basic AutoCAD system, right? And I wanted to actually talk and really get into the other packages that are available out there for 2D drafting, right? So I just want to kind of go through a list of the best known, most often used names in this industry, right? So the first one that comes up, right, that I see quite a lot is FreeCAD. Right? And the benefit of FreeCAD is, well, it's free. Right? And free, that's the price for me. Free always makes any kind of software popular, right? People love it, right? Who doesn't want to be able to work with something at zero cost? But at the end of the day, I do believe that you get what you pay for. It's fine for personal use, or if all you need to do is open up or mark up basic drawing files. But I found that FreeCAD really isn't meant for professional use. It doesn't have the range of tools, features, and speed that you really need in a production business environment when you're working with the 2D CAD systems. The next one that
I've never even heard of that, of FreeCAD, by the way.
Yeah.
And I've been around for a long time.
Yeah, and it's actually one of the ones. It's only been out for, I think it's only been out for about 5 years or so. And it's like I said, it's great for individual use. It's great for college students and homeowners who are looking to lay out their garden and so on. But I have had a number of small architectural firms in particular who've tried it, and they wind up getting rid of it pretty quickly because it just doesn't do what they need it to do in a business environment. The other option, right, or one of the other options, is IntelliCAD. And IntelliCAD came out years ago, right, and it was very well known, and it's a very effective tool because really at its base level, IntelliCAD does a lot of what AutoCAD can do. The problem that you ran into with IntelliCAD, I mean, there was a whole big legal battle between Autodesk and IntelliCAD, and IntelliCAD won because they were essentially using the same structure. But IntelliCAD, as its own independent CAD system, was not commercially successful because they were pushing back into time when Autodesk was still actively developing AutoCAD. So what wound up happening there is that a lot of the IntelliCAD code became open source. They put it out on the web as part of the open source consortium, and that led to a lot of variant companies using IntelliCAD as their base because it is, kind of native or very, very similar to older versions of AutoCAD. The problem that you have with that is there were so many small variants because it was open source. Right? Anybody who could code and had a little CAD background was able to build their own, Joe's CAD package. Nobody really trusts that because they're never sure which ones are good, which ones are going to be developed. Only very small firms are using those. Most of those IntelliCAD variants are very affordable because they're based off of that open source code system. But the problem you run into is that they're usually being developed by very small software companies with a handful of people, and you don't know if they're going to be there in 5 or 6 weeks. So that one's not very trusted. It really hasn't made much inroads. So then you start to move up into more of the commercially applicable systems like TurboCAD. TurboCAD is a really solid CAD system. It's meant for professional use, and I have to say I'm actually a fan of it. It's a nice, powerful CAD system. It works really, really well. The issue is that it's an independent CAD system. It doesn't, like you said, we're talking about, the learning curve issue, right? That people don't want to start from scratch and learn entirely new tools. They don't want to lose all of those features they've developed for so many decades now in the AutoCAD environment. And while TurboCAD is a great package, I find that a lot of companies shy away from it because it is, you have that learning curve. You've got to kind of retrain your people from the ground up and rebuild your standards and processes a little bit from the ground up. So that's the positives and negatives of TurboCAD. I got nothing negative to say about it in terms of performance and features. It's just, a lot of companies don't want to put in that time and investment. ZWCAD. I think it's, I don't know if it's ZWCAD. I think it's just ZWCAD. It's a kind of a weird name. That's another one that's become really, really popular. And I'm sure you've seen that in a lot of our companies. I know we've talked about that with a few clients over the past year or so, ZWCAD and whether or not it's useful. ZWCAD it's a good, solid CAD system. It's okay for professional use. What I will say is I find it to be a little bit lightweight for desktop and real design use. But where ZWCAD really shines is that it's really good for tablet and field use. So it's actually become fairly popular in the construction world, so that it has good compatibility with DWG and other CAD file types, primarily for just opening and reviewing files. It's really not all that fantastic in terms of editing CAD files, but it's really, really good at just opening multiple CAD files and letting people in the field open on their tablets or their 2-in-1s and take a look at those. So that's where ZW CAD comes in. And of course, my personal favorite, and I know your personal favorite, but yes, we do have a vested interest in them as our sponsor and a partner of ours, is BricsCAD. But that's not the reason why they're my favorite. I mean, BricsCAD, the real benefit there is that it uses the exact same DWG file format and the same exact tool structure and code structure as AutoCAD, so that you can, files move back and forth. You can open a file in AutoCAD, open the same file in BricsCAD with no kind of conversion. And all of your utilities, layers, Lisp utilities, macros, all of that you've built and developed in AutoCAD over the years, or any customization, any profiles, all of its commands and variants are all kind of compatible between both systems. So really people can just go into BricsCAD and work in it exactly the same way they've always worked in AutoCAD. So that's one of the huge pluses there. And the other thing that I do like about them, where I think they're a step ahead, they're maintaining that familiarity, so you don't have that giant learning curve concern that people resist new CAD systems for. But they've also actively been developing new tools. You guys go in and do yourself a favor, do a little searching on BricsCAD, and you start to see things like their quad tool, which is one of the best tools I've ever seen in the CAD environment. It makes your life so much easier. I'm a huge fan of that. They've got a lot of AI features they've added in for tools like Blockify, where you can create multiple blocks from different locations all at once. And I know that's a vague explanation, but if you guys just search, either hit our website, or you can go out and search the BricsCAD website and see what they offer there. There are just a ton of really nice 2D CAD tools that go above and beyond anything Autodesk is offering that BricsCAD has. So you get all of the benefits and those on top. Plus, as we've talked about before, right? They offer perpetual licensing, which means that you're not requiring everybody to pay money every year. You're not forcing people to upgrade when they're not ready. And that's to me, that's a big thing. So, and you know what, Rock, actually, as I'm talking about this, so I talk a lot about that. Whenever we have CAD discussion, I do. I just talk a lot in general. I do. It's the Irish in me. They say it's the gift of gab, right? We can, kissing the Blarney Stone. Who needs that? It's in our blood. But I do. I talk a lot about the licenses, the perpetual licenses, anytime that we have any of these CAD discussions. So just to throw it in and let me pause to take a drink of water, and you can talk for a little bit. Can you explain the difference between perpetual and maintenance combination licensing versus annual subscription? And what do you think, or what do you see when you're dealing with people? What are the benefits and negatives of each side, perpetual versus annual?
Well, with perpetual, you buy it once and you own it for life. You own it for as long as you can run it on your system. With BricsCAD, you have the annual maintenance option so that you renew it from year to year. It is optional whether you renew that maintenance from year to year. With the annual licenses that are available through companies like Autodesk or BricsCAD, you just renew the license from year to year. If you don't renew it, you lose access to the license. As far as what people prefer, I think a lot of people who are on the Autodesk platform are accepting the fact that you have that annual license structure, but a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people are still looking for that perpetual license structure where they want to make the decision when they upgrade and how much money they put out. So it's it's kind of a toss-up as to what's preferred out there.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, like you said, it's going to vary from company to company. Everybody's got to put in their own research and find which one works for them. So, yeah, like I said, and I do tend to come down on the perpetual side just from my own standpoint. I don't like having to pay annual subscription licenses. I like to do upgrades when it fits for what we do. So, just my own 2 cents there. So, like we said before, 2D CAD software is going strong, and it's going to be going strong for many years, maybe even many decades to come. And while AutoCAD was the first big system that hit the market, and it's a great product, right? I have to say, I mean, I've worked in it for most of my career. It really does amazing things. I think that as a company, Autodesk is kind of overlooked and abandoned AutoCAD. They're only providing minimal updates and support for it, and they're not really looking to invest a lot of effort in it, since their focus is on their more expensive and expansive 3D and BIM marketplace. That's where their big growths are going right now. That's what they're pushing everybody towards. But in the meantime, when you get to systems like BricsCAD and TurboCAD and some of the others we talked about, those are making really, really big inroads into that 2D CAD market, which is still better than, like we said, we're pushing 2/3 of the market out there are still using 2D CAD regularly. And these smaller companies are making these inroads because they're number one, they're more cost effective. They're regularly upgraded with better tools than AutoCAD is providing. And like I said, when you get into it, they're not only providing better tools directly in that 2D drafting space, they're actively taking a different tack from the Autodesk model of multiple software packages for multiple types of work, and they're integrating all of their verticals. Right? In other words, again, going back to BricsCAD for an example, they have verticals for, there's BricsCAD BIM, BricsCAD mechanical, sheet metal. There are civil packages, structural work. They're integrating those vertical packages directly into the base system. So you're only working in one software, one environment, one drawing file type. You're not using completely isolated work silos. And a lot of people really, really love that. And I'm a big fan of that. And I think, they're intentionally avoiding that Autodesk multi-software marketing scheme, right? So you don't have to buy a half dozen softwares to finish one job. So all of these new CAD systems are really, like I said, you buy it once, or you have the option. Almost all of the smaller ones do have that perpetual license that Rocco was just explaining to us. You buy it once, you upgrade when you need it, right? And all your design work is being done in a single file format for easy transfer and compatibility to other systems, even AutoCAD itself. And that's a huge benefit. So in my mind, the final takeaway from today's discussion is, that if you're using AutoCAD and you're paying the annual subscription fees for it and all the other suite systems that you need to finish your job, because like I said, in that model, you do need multiple verticals to be able to finish your projects. I think that there are better, cheaper systems out there that will give you an edge, right? And that's really what you need. Any edge is what you're going to need to succeed in the really competitive design world market today. And our profit margins aren't all of that, and we got to keep it tight, and we got to get things done faster and for less money on every job. That's just the reality of it. All right. So I think that covers what I wanted to talk about here on our 2D CAD setup. What do you think, Rocco? Anything you want to toss out?
I don't think so, Jim. I think you had the final word.
Hey, I like having the final word. It's always fun. Because I don't get it at home with my wife, so it's nice I at least get it here on the podcast. That's good. All right, so I hope you guys will join us in our next podcast, where we will be talking about layers, and plus we'll even talk about some more layers in the CAD world.
Is it going to be about layers?
Yeah, that's what I heard. I think there's a rumor out there that it might be about layers. So, all right, folks. Thank you all again for joining us on the Cattle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco. We'll see you next time. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.